Dear members of the ACG community, good afternoon and thank you for joining us today. On behalf of my colleagues at the Office of Public Affairs, I would like to welcome you to our presentation on tobacco control in EU and Greece. This event, as you all know, is organized by the Institute of Public Health, an institute that was established at the American College of Greece back in January 2016. As most of you know already, the Institute's main goal, along with the development of scientific research and educational activities in the field of public health, is to play a leading role in support of the anti-smoking campaign in Greece. And indeed, it does, as you will very well see from the presentation that will follow by Dr. Bethrakis. The event is also organized in collaboration with various ACG offices, the ACG Center of Excellence for Sustainability, the Office of Student Affairs, the ACG Health and Wellness Center, and the SMOKEFREEGREECE Initiative. I would like to thank all the representatives of these entities for their support and engagement in the discussion from the very start, and of course I would like to thank all the students who are present here today. As we are in the process of launching, planning our next step towards launching, turning ACG into a smoke-free campus, we aim at establishing a sincere and open dialogue with all the members of the ACG community. So we are delighted to have two distinguished guests with us today to help launch this dialogue. We realize this is a topic quite heated, but of particular interest, I would say, to both smokers and non-smokers. And of course, through this event and other events that will follow, we are here to open a sincere dialogue, as I said, and to address all concerns and questions you might have on both sides. For those of you who don't know it already, I would like to remind you something that Dr. Bethrakis will refer also to, that since 2009, there is a law in Greece that forbids smoking from all academic institutions, both in indoor and outdoor areas. It simply has not been implemented yet in any of the academic institutions of tertiary education, unfortunately. So we are here to be the pioneers once again, this time. In this context, Dr. Bethrakis and Mrs. Emmerling will give us an overview of what is happening in Greece and across Europe today in the area of tobacco control, including, of course, recent developments, statistics, and relevant policies. Mrs. Emmerling, I would like to thank you on behalf of the entire community. I would like to thank you for taking the time for visiting us. Mrs. Emmerling has flown from Brussels just to be with us, and she broke a world record. It took her only 12 hours to fly from Brussels to Athens because of a strike at the Brussels airport. So we thank you for your commitment to your work, and we look forward to listening to your presentation. At this moment, I would like you both to take your seat on the stage, and I would present first Dr. Bethrakis. Please take your seat. There will be some presentations on the part of both the speakers, but then there will be plenty of time for you to ask questions. Let me now introduce the first speaker. Dr. Bethrakis is the Director of the Institute of Public Health, an ACG entity that works closely with the Office of Public Affairs. Dr. Bethrakis is also the Director of the George Bethrakis Research Lab of the Hellenic Cancer Society and a Principal Researcher at the Biomedical Research Foundation of the Athens Academy. For the past 10 years, Dr. Bethrakis has been dedicated to tobacco prevention, especially among youth in Greece, with the implementation of a series of initiatives under the title Smoke-Free Greece. This is all fully funded by the Bethrakis Foundation based in Boston. Professor Bethrakis is a leading global expert in public health tobacco control, a member of the Board of Regents of the American College of Chest Physicians, the focal point of the World Health Association for Tobacco Control in Greece, and the coordinator of the Joint Action for Tobacco Control, a project which is run by the European Commission. Dr. Bethrakis is the author of more than 150 full scientific papers published in international journals with 2,500 citations and has won numerous international distinctions for his work. Dr. Bethrakis is an MD and a PhD from the School of Medicine of the Athens University and a PhD from McGill University in Canada. He has served as Associate Professor of Respiratory Physiology at the University of Athens from 1991 to 2012. And as Adjunct Associate Professor in the Department of Environmental Health of the School of Public Health at Harvard University from 2009 to 2014. Thank you very much for joining us, and Dr. Bethrakis, the floor is yours.
This is Thank you very much for such a kind presentation. I would like also to thank Mrs. Emmerling for visiting us. She came all the way from Brussels just for giving this lecture here today. I thank you all for coming to listen to what we are going to tell you about tobacco control. I'll start with what we're going to talk about is a very simple thing, the implementation of a law. The implementation of Article 17 of Law 3868, which is protecting of minors. And you can see that smoking, according to this law, is prohibited in all places of healthcare and education, which include uncovered areas such as roofs, terraces, balconies, or any other outdoor or semi-open spaces, etc. This law did not came from the middle of nowhere. It is based on the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, the WHO treaty, which is the most widely embraced treaty in the history of WHO. It has been ratified by 181 countries, covering the 91% of the world population. Greece has ratified the WHO CTC on January 27, 2006. It is 12 years ago, but this has become a law of our country. Europe, following the articles of FCTC, has adopted two tobacco products directives, the latest one being published in 2014. It regulates the internal market of tobacco and related products and assures a high level of health protection for European citizens. The contribution of Greece towards a smoke-free Europe is very active during the last 10 years. I have in front of you a list of projects in which we played a leading role. HAT 1, HAT 2, one expert from the Ministry of Health, one expert from the Ministry of Education, Eurest Direct Specialized, Eurest Last and Top G. All these are European projects led by us. On the other side of the slide, you can see a series of other projects to which we also participate, but as work package leaders, not as leaders of the whole of the entire project. Recently, we have the coordination of the Joint Action on Tobacco Control, which is funded and observed by the DG Sante and Thea, and it aims to support the implementation of the Tobacco Products Directive throughout the 28 European member states. This project is supervised by our visitor of today, and we are in very close collaboration with the Hellenic Cancer Society and the European authorities in an effort to implement the directive. During the last 3 years, we have developed an initiative called SMOKEFREEGREECE. And I have to make clear here that we do not have anything to do with a movement called Smoke-Free World, which is supported globally by the tobacco industry. We started using this name before then, and they probably copied us. So Smoke-Free Greece has started as a movement before the Smoke-Free World. We don't belong to them, we don't follow them, we have nothing to do with them, and they have just copied us. The Smoke-Free Greece is fully funded by the Health Foundation, and it is activated through the Institute of Public Health of the ACG and the George Bechaitis Research Lab of the Hellenic Cancer Society. What are the results of our efforts here in Greece? The smoking prevalence in Greece in population aging between 16 and 24 years old has reduced by 33% in the years between 2009 and 2014. This is according to measurements done not by ourselves, but by the Hellenic Statistical Authority. The new measurements will take place next year, 2019. Every 5 years have to be performed, and they are official, and there is no doubt about their results. The question around is what are we doing with passive smoking? Everybody knows that the law has not been implemented effectively, and there is a discussion about Greeks who do not obey the law and so on. I have to tell you that according to our measurements, Greek people are really upset with the fact that smoking ban is not enforced in this country. According to our repeated measurements, 74% of Greek people are upset for the non-implementation of the law. And in this number, 50% of smokers are included. Even the smokers themselves do not like what's happening in our country in spite of the law. The idea is to start thinking and working in the ACG for a tobacco-free campus. It is a trend all over the world, and this has already been established in most universities of the United States. As for 2017, 2,082 universities are 100% smoke-free. Here, we have one reason more to become smoke-free. First of all, we are an American institution. We are an educational organization. Of course, we are operating in Europe. And the last point is of very high sensitivity. ACG is not exclusively a university campus, but it also a place of education for 1,400 students grading between 7 and 12 classes. So, we are talking about peers, students, who have no reason to say their professors smoking every day. You can see here that 76.7% of students of the have seen their professors smoking around. And of course, nobody can be proud of this. And this is the values. The good ones are here. But according to our survey, ACG faculty staff believe that ACG can play a leading role in the decrease of smoking during school age. Regular smokers, 71% positive. Casual smokers, 88% positive. Ex-smokers, 98% positive. And non-smokers, 96% positive. So it seems that we want to change things, and we can make it. The question is, why not? If we don't do it, whom are we expecting to do so? It is a kind of duty, a kind of responsibility of the American politics to start playing a leading role in this field. And I tell you, I promise to make it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Krakis, and now let me introduce our second speaker, Mrs. Thea Emmerling. Mrs. Emmerling has a long career and an extensive working experience in the fields of health and food safety, especially at the European Commission, where she initially started working in 1996. Among other posts, she was Deputy Head of Unit, Director General Health and Consumers in the Health Law and International Directorate, dealing with all EU public health legislation and international contacts. Since November 2017, Mrs. Emmerling is leading the cross-border healthcare and tobacco control unit of the European Commission's DG for Health and Food Safety. Prior to that, Mrs. Emmerling led the Food Safety, Health and Consumer Affairs section of the delegation of the European Union in Washington, D.C. for 4 years. From 2009 until 2013, Mrs. Emmerling worked as Minister Counselor for Health at the European Union delegation to the United Nations in Geneva, while before that she even served at the World Health Organization. Mrs. Emmerling holds a diploma in economics from the University of Hamburg, Germany. Mrs. Emmerling will talk to us about the recent developments in EU tobacco control work. And once again, I would like to thank her for her dedication. It was very nice meeting her in person since yesterday. We look forward to listening to her presentation this time and perhaps another time again in the future. Mrs. Emmerling, thank you. Please join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you very much for setting up this event. It's not every day that I come to the grassroots level, because we are sitting in Brussels at the Brussels headquarters level, and we are mainly dealing with member states. So we don't go to the educational institutions or the restaurants every day. So for me, I'm very privileged that I get this experience. Thank you very much. Who I am the lady who puts the shock pictures on the tobacco packages. I am the lady who makes your life difficult if you are a smoker. And it's my obsession to make it difficult in order to get you quit that stuff. If you are a non-smoker, I am the lady who tries to push all the developments to get to smoke-free areas to protect non-smokers. And this is also one of the reasons I'm coming here, and I'm coming happily, because it's also one of my passions and obsessions to get this movement on smoke-free environments pushed forward. Now, I'll rush through a little bit of this presentation, but before I start it, I just want to say, who is the EU? The EU is a union of 28 member states who have decided, 500 million people by now, big market, they have decided more than 60 years ago to do certain things together. And one of these things is to have a single market. And everything that we do at EU level is, we call it a delegated competence that we got from member states. So these 28 member states who set up and founded the European Union, they put the treaty text and said we are doing X, Y, Z together. And only then can we act as the EU, if we find a foundation, a basis in the EU treaties. They were amended several times, but that principle is still valid. So only when we have competence via these EU treaties can we act. Why do we act in tobacco control? Because one of the major competences of the EU is to have a single market for goods, services, people and capital. We are here in the goods market with tobacco control. So having a single market, and that single market needs to have a high level of health protection. So this is why we are active in tobacco control at EU level. But we cannot do everything, because a lot of everything that doesn't have a relation to the single market, we cannot do, and that remains member states' competence. And I'll come back to this when we go through this presentation. So where do we stand on tobacco control in the EU? We have about 700,000 Europeans that are killed prematurely by the product. Tobacco is the only legally available product that kills half of its users prematurely. So just have this in mind. We have a smoking rate of around 26% of EU citizens. Just to help you place Greece, Greece is 37%. So it's a relatively high percentage of smoking. We have a very worrying trend in Europe. Young people, 15 to 20, that rate is increasing, and it increased from 25 to 29%. That's a very worrying trend, because this is where normally tobacco companies start to get their business. They get young people hooked onto an addictive product, and then they have clients for all their life. So it's a good business model to address young people. That's why it's also a very good thing to try to get education facilities, campuses smoke-free, because this is exactly the target group. Now, which tools do we have at EU level to do tobacco control? And despite the fact that we are based just on the internal market, we have developed quite a comprehensive tobacco control policies. So we have legal tools, and that are the biggest tools. So we have EU law, and we have regulated under EU law tobacco products, the packaging, the labeling, the warnings, the shock pictures. We have, that is e-cigarettes. So this is one piece of legislation. It's called the Tobacco Products Directive. It's EU law, and member states have to translate this EU law into their national law. And if they don't do it, we have legal tools. We can bring member states to the European Court of Justice. So all the legal tools are quite heavy tools that we have at our disposal. We also have at EU level cross-border advertising restrictions for tobacco products. So you cannot advertise, promote or sponsor a tobacco product with a cross-border effect. So one of the examples we had where we got tobacco out was in Formula 1 races. There had always been the big Marlboro labels, and we got them out of Formula 1 races. And why is it important? There are three big events with cross-border effects with many people who watch it. It's the Olympic Games, it's Formula 1 races, and it's the Soccer World Cup. So we already have Olympic Games smoke-free, the soccer is smoke-free, and Formula 1 was the last of the big events with cross-border effects to get it out. Then we have directives for setting minimum taxes on tobacco products. That's not managed by the health department, but by our taxation department. And we have activities against illicit trade in tobacco products. So we are currently setting up a traceability system for all of these tobacco products, because in the past the companies were doing things that they were not supposed to do. And we caught them, and then we had specific agreements with them, and now we have legislation to set up a real tracking and tracing system. So this is law. Then we have political instruments, and we use them. These are recommendations that the European Commission gives. These can be council conclusions, these can be statements, but it's more or less political tools where we don't have the law to force somebody to do something, but we can help and we can politically push. And this is what we are doing, especially in smoke-free environments. We have a recommendation since 2009, where we recommend countries how they can and what they can do to have smoke-free environments. And we have a study in 2013 to look at what was ongoing, and we will have another one soon. Then we have financial tools where we can help member states to put in practice several things that they would probably not do without EU money. One is the joint action that is managed by Professor Barakis, and it looks at what is in the tobacco products, what do these substances do, and we work towards making it public, everything, so that smokers know what is in their cigarette, and it's more than 70 carcinogenic substances. So there's a lot in the cigarette that people don't know about. We also had cessation campaigns for a while, but we have stopped that because these are more of national competence. They have to be tailored to a country in a specific language, to a target group. So this is more of what member states do. And then we have, we're very active in the international activities in the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control that Professor Barakis has already introduced. And there we normally go there with fully coordinated EU positions, so we act as the EU. And there is a whole preparatory work to be done so that we can speak with one single voice. And that is always when we go internationally, the aim is that we speak with one single voice as the EU, because then we are strong. If we speak with 28 little voices, and even the UK or Germany or France are a little voice in the UN. So we really try when we go to the UN sector to be a united voice. Now I will skip all of this because this just goes into detail of the legislations. These are the shop pictures that we had. We have several libraries of them, and they are changed every 3 to 4 years, so that people don't get used to these pictures, that they get new pictures, and we are currently on the second library. And these pictures, they are more cruel than the first library that we had. But I can tell you, if you look at what Brazil has, what Thailand has, what India has, we have tons of pictures. So, these pictures must cover 65% of the pack, and there must also be a warning with them in the language of the country where the product is marketed. So I skip all of this. Challenges. So this Tobacco Products Directive with the pictures, this is one of the major pieces that we have on tobacco control legislation. It was challenged. The directive before was challenged at the court. This one is also, we have court cases, so we have to defend this piece of legislation, often vis-à-vis tobacco industry, but also towards member states, because there can be, it's a very political subject. when you deal with tobacco control. So we do a lot of court cases. We do transposition and compliance checks, that is, when member states have to translate this EU law into their national law. And all member states have transposed this directive, and we are now in a state where we look at the content. So they told us they have made a law, and now, so we got from all member states that they have adopted the law, and now we look at, does this law, is it in compliance with the EU law? This is something that is one of the core tasks of the Commission, and if we find non-compliance, we can bring member states to the European Court of Justice. The directive has an extremely complicated implementation structure. I don't want to go into it, but everything as regards flavors, we want to act on flavors. It's a very complicated structure, also everything around ingredients. The challenge is also that new products are emerging, and I'm talking here of e-cigarettes. They are regulated already under this Tobacco Products Directive, but we also have heated tobacco products like IQOS, so they are also a tobacco product. They fall under the Tobacco Products Directive and also under the LCTC. And then we are working on, I said, on the illicit trade in tobacco products, in setting up a system, and it will, the first timeline for setting it up is 20 May next year. So we are very active on that one. I also don't want to go in this joint action just to say that the objective is 2.5 million euros. The objective is to support member states to do analysis of data, of tobacco products and of electronic cigarettes, and also to decide on what is public and what is not public. Because tobacco companies come and say, oh, this is all secret and trade secret and confidential information. You can't do anything with it. And in fact, it's not. But where is the line? And so this is one of the important tasks of the joint action. And the tracking and tracing, we've done. Next things, what is coming up at EU level. So we have the Tobacco Products Directive, we have the Tobacco Advertising Directive. We are currently starting works to amend the Tobacco Taxation Directive. It's already there, but we've started a consultation to change it. And from a health perspective, the direction is clear. We want higher taxes to make cigarettes more expensive, and then normally price is a very good measure to bring down consumption. So we are following that very closely, but so far there was only a public consultation. On advertising and sponsorship, we are currently noting that Philip Morris gets back into Formula One races with the campaign Win Now, or Win Now, and they made it public in October, so it's a very young development, and they promote their new products, so they don't make it for cigarettes, and we are currently looking what we can do there. So this picture is still the old Marlboro thing that we got out, but it's coming back. So the Formula One races are on our watch list, because it's probably more indirect advertising for a tobacco product than direct advertising. So we also have the Audiovisual Media Directive that bans all forms of audiovisual and commercial communication and product placement also in TV. So everything that is cross-border, that has cross-border effect in the EU as regards advertising, promotion and sponsorship is banned, but only what has cross-border effects. And in the beginning, also this directive covered more on advertising, but it was challenged at the European Court of Justice by a member state, and then we had to just limit it to cross-border effects. I've talked about smoke-free environments, so there we will do a new study to see how this recommendation is being implemented now in member states, and especially also to see how new tobacco products and non-tobacco products are covered by the smoke-free places. And that will come. We are currently writing the terms of reference, so that probably by the end of next year we'll see some outcome. I've already said that. Then I want to just put your attention on extended producer responsibility schemes, especially for cigarette butts, because we currently, the EU has set up a plastic strategy. And in this plastic strategy, it suggests to set up, to amend the existing legal framework, which already for some products contains producer liability schemes. For example, for your fridge, you can give back your fridge, and the fridge industry has to pay for a system of dealing with your fridge and the liquids in it. And so the idea of this plastic strategy and the legal proposal is to extend these liabilities to other parts of the economy, for example, to single-use plastics, and that's a big issue. But one of the side things that we are dealing with is to also cover cigarette butts. And the current proposal asks member states to consider setting up such producer responsibility schemes so that polluters, and in that sense the polluter industry, has to help with financing costs for getting rid of cigarette butts that are everywhere. And we found that they make a big part of marine litter. And if you are at beaches, they are full of cigarette butts. And since I know that we are doing this, it was not pushed by tobacco control people, it was pushed by environmental people, but really it's supported by us. Since then, I look onto the floor and I see so many cigarette butts, and it's really amazing when you open your eyes for it. So this is something which has passed the European Commission proposal was there, it has passed the European Parliament, and now member states must make up their mind. But if this comes, then it's something really revolutionary, that and the EU would be the only jurisdiction that would have such an extended producer responsibility scheme for cigarette butts. But it's just the side effect of something much bigger, but it's a nice side effect. We will have in May 2021 a big report on the application of the current Tobacco Products Directive, where we look at how it is working and what can be improved, and this is just what the directive tells us to look at. You don't have, please don't read it, this is just too much. But perhaps just to know that in May 2021 there is this report, and until then it will remain stable and we will work on what we have. I think I've covered all of that. We are currently working on making the systems work, on compliance, on this new report. We set up the track and trace system. We are monitoring e-cigarettes that are covered by our Tobacco Products Directive. We will soon ask for the scientific committees to look at the health effects and the social and environmental effects of e-cigarettes. We are working on taxation, we are working on the plastic strategy with the extended producer responsibility, and then all our international work. And with that, I think I'll stop here, because otherwise we don't have time for questions and answers.
Thank you both for your presentations. I would like to use the next 10 minutes that we have for some questions and answers or concerns you want to raise, and make it a little bit perhaps more specific to Greece and how can we help an institution such as ours to be a leading institution and teach by example, enforce a law that is in place and hasn't been implemented yet. So, Christina, would you like to go first? I open the floor for questions.
I have a question. How do you ensure compliance in member states in these directives, particularly in Greece? What if they don't comply with the directives?
So the EU is a union of law. So we have the law to go against member states if they don't comply with the law. And this is the real tough tool we have. So if we find that countries are not in compliance with our directives, we open what we call an infringement procedure, and that ends then at the European Court of Justice. And so what the European Court of Justice can do, so it makes a judgment, and normally as it's sovereign, and it's over and above the national laws, so member states have to comply with it. If they don't comply with it, they get heavy fines. It starts to become expensive, and then normally member states comply. But we don't have a police that can go to the member states and monitor them. We are a union of law, and we only have the law to make the law work. And so far it works.
Thank you. Any questions? Please, the students at the back.
Mr. Befrakis, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask you if the people in Greece are so upset about their exposure to passive smoke, why the law hasn't been enforced yet?
Yes. It is a strange triangle here, which I have to repeat once more. We have a very good law, we have a very good people wanting to see the law implemented, and we have governments pretending that they cannot implement the law. So your question has to be addressed to the people of government, not to me. Because I know that there is a lack of political willingness to implement the law. The people are ready, the law is correct, and the people in charge to implement the law, they look around talking about other things. This is the answer to your question. In fact, it is a responsibility of the government to implement the law. And if they say that they cannot do it, my answer is very clear. If a minister cannot implement the law, we don't change the law, we change the minister.
Okay. Yes, you at the back.
Yeah, hello. So I was wondering, how does smoke-free Greece reduce smoke in youth? I mean, has anything been done specifically about young people in Greece, since it is the early age where mainly the problem starts? Thank you.
Yes, it is half an hour ago that in British College we saw the excellent work produced by the students themselves to introduce the idea of non-smoking among youth. We have been working with school interventions for more than 10 years now. Where is Marina Levy and who else from our department? Who have been thousands of visits to schools. We have 3 centers, one in Athens, one in Thessaloniki, and one in Tripoli. Every day teaching students tobacco, not tobacco effects, on how to, not to start smoking. Smoking prevention through school interventions has been extensively done in this country, and this is how we have the results. I can also tell you that within 10 days from now, we have been invited to Brussels because we have been somehow elected as one of the 10 best NGOs all over Europe for this work. So, Commissioner Emeritus has invited the Academic Cancer Society to participate in this ceremony where some and we are among the candidates for this award.
And you have also seen statistics that reduce in smoking among young people, in Greece at least. Although we saw the average in Europe might be increasing among youth, but in Greece this has been...
But the question was not about the results, it was about the methodology.
Okay.
Okay? So this should be the direct answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it clear?
Yeah, of course.
I would like to share with you my experience here at KD. I'm teaching biology for a good number of years, and our students initially were, I think many more were smoking here at KD as well. But more and more I see that fewer students are indeed smokers. And myself, I try every semester to inform them. And at the end of the semester, I'm pleased to inform you that a good number of them come to me and tell me they quit smoking because of what they've learned. So I'm quite optimistic. And with Mrs. Lemonakis also, she knows we have put together a number of informative events, hands-on experience for our students over the years. And I'm truly optimistic that at the end of maybe, I don't know, a 5 years period, less students, less young people will be smoking here in Greece. And one more last thing. I think, as you said earlier, it is perhaps the government to be blamed more than anything, because initially I remember when the law was implemented, everything seemed to work here in Greece. And suddenly, after a year or two, we went more or less back to the previous situation. Not exactly, but...
Okay. We made 2 comments. The first one was to underline and to emphasize the role of school teachers in tobacco control in youth. And I would like to overemphasize this. With our collaboration with the Ministry of Education during the last 10 years, we have come in contact with so many school teachers, and we have found so warm climate of collaboration that it is unbelievable. I tell you that yes, if you are a teacher, you have the power and you have the ability to do things with young boys, young girls, not to start smoking. What I have to say here is that education of school teachers in this field is necessary. And this is why we have produced one book for school children. We incorporated in it all the knowledge we thought that teachers should have before starting talking to these students about tobacco control. And now the second edition of this book is coming within another 2 months from now. all of them are open for free. They're free in the internet. We produce as many hard copies as we can, and we distribute them to as many teachers as we can. Yes, the role of teachers is very, very important, and we really rely on it. The second comment was
About being optimistic?
Being optimistic for sure, yeah.
And stop the environmental increase.
Yeah.
yes,
That it began initially, you know, this law that was implemented quite well, it was accepted by a lot of people, but gradually we went almost back to the previous situation.
yes. We know that it is somehow our responsibility, and when I say our, I mean all the tobacco control leaders of the country to become more decisional on this and to push the government for an effective implementation of the law. What happened in the past happened. We have to look at the present and the future. This is the way to solve problems. So we must do things, and we'll do it. I am not in a position now to tell you what my plans, what our plans are, but I tell you that there are plans, and they will be effectively activated very soon.
So perhaps one more question before we go, Anastasia. One final question.
Hello, I would like to address the issue of novel tobacco products and heated tobacco products. Is there a campaign in Europe or in Greece that addresses heated tobacco products in particular? Because it's a growing trend. Everyone is like the tobacco industry is shifting its sales in high-income countries to its production and sales to novel tobacco products. So I'm wondering if there is a campaign or an initiative to inform people about the health effects of novel tobacco products. Thank you.
So novel tobacco products are tobacco products, and they are under the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and in our EU law, as they are tobacco products, they are regulated by the Tobacco Products Directive. There is a specific article in the Tobacco Products Directive on novel tobacco products, but they are regulated. So we are one of the few jurisdictions who has already regulated novel tobacco products. We know it is an increasing trend, and at the last conference of the parties of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, we have launched, it was the EU who launched an initiative to get a decision on novel tobacco products, including heated tobacco products, where we, in fact, we ask all parties of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control to look into regulating these products, just perhaps like us, or even tougher. So regulating these products, and we also launched some scientific work at international level to look into these products. And this was an initiative of the EU. It was very much supported by, found huge support in the conference of the parties. And we hope that by now and to the next COP, there will be really some developments, because on our market, our market is the one that has most different products. Japan, South Korea also have lots of these products. The US, but the US is slightly different. And then especially these products are now upcoming also in developing countries, but they often have not yet regulated these products. So, I mean, in the EU, they are regulated. They must be notified. Member states have to look at them. They have a period of 6 months to look at them. And we will also, in our 2021 report, we will monitor them and report on what we see in our market on these novel products. But they are right at the heart of future tobacco control work.
Thank you. I'm afraid the time is limited. We have to end our session. I would like to thank both our speakers for their presentations and comments. I would like to thank you all again for attending. This is, as I said at the beginning, this is an ongoing dialogue to be continued at different levels with separate, smaller or bigger student groups, as well as with our professors, both at DIRI and Peers and ALBA. So it's very important that we are all informed and educated about what the tobacco industry does, how this affects us, our rights, our obligations as citizens, and of course we have every right to raise our concerns as citizens of this country and as members of this academic community. So, again, thank you. It was a pleasure having you. We look forward to having you back on our campus, and thank you all, and we look forward to having your contribution as the dialogue will continue to unfold. Thank you very much.